Really a historical day today. Not since Winston Churchill spoke in front of Congress in 1952 has a foreign leader affected American lawmakers more deeply than Netanyahu did today, arguing forcefully and eloquently against making a nuclear deal with Iran. President Obama responded, but he's now going to have a much more difficult time selling his treaty. So did Netanyahu just win over the American public in this debate? Let's bring in our panel. We have Sabrina Schaefer, Independent Women's Forum Executive Director and Forbes contributor, Bob Rice, Fox Business contributor and Tangent Capital Managing Partner, and our own Cheryl Casoni, who came in from the cold for this. Sabrina, first to you. If you have to choose between one argument or the other, the president's or Netanyahu's, which do you choose?
Well, look, I'm firmly on the side of Netanyahu, and I'm concerned that this is costing the United States a lot, and the world specifically. You know, I'm part of the Jewish community, so I have a particular interest in this, but I don't think that this is solely a Jewish issue. This is an American issue. This is an issue for the West. We have thrown away now, a decade's worth of hard work towards sort of diplomacy and an economic lobby that had been built to try to change things in Iran, and 6 UN Security Council resolutions. This is a tremendous loss for us if we move forward with Obama's way.
Well, Bob, if the public, starting with the lawmakers, do accept Netanyahu's version of things, there will be a cost. There's always a cost. And we got an idea from Netanyahu today just how far he'd be willing to go to pay for holding back their nuclear interests. Let's play the soundbite.
I can promise you one more thing. Even if Israel has to stand alone, Israel will stand.
That is Israel saying if they don't get permission to go in and strike Iran, they are going to do it anyway if they see it's vital to their interests. There's a cost if we support them in that.
Oh, huge cost if we support them in that. I think the real question is, why would we race to a deal right now when a lot of things have changed in the world that have really helped us, notably the price of oil? The Saudis are really helping us. They're hurting our energy infrastructure, but they're helping us a lot. They're making this much more difficult for the Iranians to suffer through these sanctions. The pressure points are increasing. We've got some leverage. Let's use it.
So, Cheryl, now is the last moment you want to do this. Finally, because of the price of oil going way down, these sanctions are having effect.
Well, I think that really, sanctions aside and the oil markets aside, I think at the end of the day, your first question, David, was the best one. That is, did he win over the American public today? And yes, I think that he did. And I think that the president is going to certainly have to reevaluate his relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu. We have had such a chilly discourse for 6 years now with the Israelis. Remember, look at the NASDAQ. If you want to make this a money story, look at the NASDAQ. It's full of Israeli companies. Look at the technology that we're getting out there. Right. Israel is under threat. They're surrounded by enemies.
Cheryl, I got to speak the truth. His relationship with Netanyahu will not change over the rest of his presidency. It won't. It just won't. The guys are too dug into their positions. All right. Could the president's next executive action be to raise taxes? He could do this. Let's play the soundbite.
The president certainly has not indicated any reticence about using his executive authority to try to advance an agenda that benefits middle-class Americans.
He could do it. The question is, could he get away with it, Cheryl?
I mean, certainly this president has no problem using executive orders. Right. We've seen that example again and again. But when it comes to the issue of taxes, this is very, very different, because any rhetoric that comes to raising taxes is not going to be popular with anyone, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. He'll tread very carefully on this one.
Sabrina, what if he does it? I mean, we realize how far he's willing to go with these executive actions. What would the Congress do?
Well, that's a really good question, because obviously we all want to grow the pie for everyone, and this is a policy that would take us in the wrong direction. But I think the bigger issue is his abuse of these executive orders. David, we've talked about this. I mean, executive orders are there for times of emergency when you don't have an opportunity for debate. But if we're talking about paying for his immigration executive order or paying for any other economic policy that he's trying to push through, we should be having a public debate. Congress should be talking about the best ways to tackle those issues, and executive orders don't allow for that.
Well, Bob, it is against the Constitution. Of course, that hasn't stopped Obama before.
Right. But, you know, the dirty little secret about taxes, frankly, is that corporate taxes are so complex. Every administration can change a little bit the way they interpret these things.
So you buy that a tweaking would not be against Constitution, saying it's Congress's right to do this.
A huge amount of authority rests in the IRS to interpret these laws and enforce them, and that's just the reality of the situation.
All right, gang. Thank you very much. Coming up, NASDAQ breaking the 5,000 barrier for the first time in 15 years this week. But is it different this time around than it was 15 years ago when we slid right after? Liz?
Okay, the relations between the U.S. and Israel have huge implications for the business community. Up next, we're talking to two companies who do very big business in both nations. Will today's speech by Israel's prime minister change any of that? Plus, tickets to see Grateful Dead going for as much as $15,000. We're talking to TickIQ about the growing secondary ticket market, and we'll get a sneak peek at what tickets may cost for the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. Stay tuned.